Okay. Hi, sisters. Back for a video. I don't know how long it'll be. This is actually my second attempt on it. And it's not on horns and twins. I haven't been in to do that study. I just happened to be in looking at some things, and then this kind of caught me, and I thought maybe we needed to speak on it because people don't like it when you prove your case. I mean, they really don't. And yes, I'll say a lot of things that maybe don't make sense at the time, but the reason why you say things is so that over time you can either validate them or discard them as invalid. So that's what we do on this channel. We say a lot of things, but a lot of things we have also already understood in some form and capacity. What we're trying to do is trying now to really, refine what we know. And so sometimes that means to keep on including certain aspects for one reason or another. And though they may be at opposing views at the time, over time we are able to weed out, what makes sense, what don't make sense. So this one is actually on lionesses, how we can prove that it's the lioness, how we can actually prove what is stated in Wisdom 18:21 of her office, and her office was over the word. It does get validated in the word coalith, absolutely. So let's just read what I'm talking about here. Again, sorry for the glare. I have virtually no color when I'm doing these videos. I apologize for that. I do have a little color. I'm not quite that bleached out. And of course my eyes aren't that blue, but the real light, whether I take it away, if I take it away, you can't see nothing. If I don't put light on, it's still, then I'm left blind sometimes. And so, see, if I do that, I can't see. But if I do that, it's a bit better. So oftentimes I have to put on other lighting that'll maybe distract from that light. And sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, based on what light is actually coming in through my window as well. So anyway, enough on that. So, what was her office? And it is her office, and we'll validate it for those who are new and who have not been through some of the older videos where we have actually touched on some of this stuff. So before we do that, we're going to talk on the Archangels just a little bit. Now, I've been kind of fascinated by the Archangel Uriel, personally, Uriel. And I do believe it's a she. I believe the whole 7 Archangels are feminine. Now, we're told in the Bible that you're not to worship angels, right? That's what we're told. So there gets to be a story in there that we need to figure out, because angels is part of the story, or what they come to call angels. Now, what we realize from the book of Job, and we may not get into a lot of this stuff because the last video I made was almost 2 hours long, and I discarded it. I'll tell you simply, I discarded it because of vanity purposes. I look like Jabba the Hutt in it, or Jabba the Hutt from Star Wars. And I just get this feeling that when I sit down, sometimes I'm just sitting down in layers, especially my chins are sitting down in layers. And in that video, I sure look like I was sitting down in layers. And so the lighting really helps to deflect the fact that I do have the jowls, which is part of my, obviously part of my, my genes, part of my inheritance and all that stuff from my family. So, I do get the British jowls. I do have the British jowls. I do get that. Anyway, so it was vain purposes, but I can tell you, I thought about not doing it and just posting it, but every time I pulled it up, I was like, I can't post that. So I am vain. I am. And, but I said a lot of good things in it that I'm not going to say in this video. And who knows, maybe a few years down the road when I'm feeling better about that video, and I hope it don't go that way, right? I really do hope that over the summer I'm able to lose the weight that I need to lose to feel better about myself, to feel better about the way that I feel. And, I think when like most of us, when we hit our late 40s and our 50s and, we begin to feel, it's just become so much easier to let things go. And I really don't want to be in that frame of mind. I really do. So I ask for prayers that I get my eating habits checked. I've gone a long ways on that, I feel myself personally, but I do need to go further on that. I do get quite a bit of exercise. I feel that I do, but I do need more, I think. So I do pray that you would help me accomplish that with prayer. So thanks. Thanks if you do. And I'll pray for all of you too. Just to pray that the Lord provides you with all the things that you really need. So anyway, concerning the archangels. All right. I do have a fascination with them because in several of my dreams, I have been shown different aspects of me in these, and it's a core group of dreams that I have. I haven't had a dream, it doesn't feel like in ages. I just don't have dreams lately. But in this core group of dreams that I do consider from God, I am shown with these various aspects that I so strongly link to the Archangel Uriel. I'm not saying I'm the Archangel Uriel. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I may be one under her particular branch. And I'm starting to think that there was 7 daughters that were given heaven in the beginning. They're what came to be known as these male archangels because man twisted everything the other way. And these 7 women would have been identified, or feminine, would have been identified as the presence of God on earth. Yes, they were. And that's why it keeps saying 777. And while you were not to worship the angels, it does not mean that the presence of God was not here in the form of what they called angels. And they were not angels, they were actually 7 women from heaven. And we can identify the 7 daughters. Where does it? I did write it down, not in this book. It wasn't in this book, sorry. It's in this book. So I'm working between 2 books here. It was found in Jeremiah 15:9. Now they don't want to translate this as sons or daughters, so when it's usually daughters, they'll just say children. Jeremiah 15:9. It says the one who has borne 7 languishes, right? It says the sun goes down upon her day before, more or less before she's able to fulfill what she needs to fulfill. Now again, I haven't looked into that, but Jeremiah 15:9, she that has borne 7 daughters, and we know it's 7 daughters. So there's this aspect of these angels being able to carry on genetically in the earth once they got cast down. So there's that aspect there that the presence of God is still here in the earth. Why do we know that aspect still exists? And I thoroughly know that it is daughters. We've identified it as women. In Jeremiah 14:9, we get, why are you like not a man? It's got a man. So what they did is when they took the power, it says you turned everything upside down. You told the potter she had no power over the clay. And that come in the context of taking control of these daughters who were given covenant to teach man the laws of heaven. Job says in Job 31, I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? For what portion of God is there from above? So it was these daughters that came from above to teach man the laws of heaven. Now, you can take it that Job took one of these daughters that had been taught by one of these 7, right? We're just going to say that perspective, though there's other perspectives we could take, because we got to examine it from multiple, avenues in order to hit upon the one that rings true. And these 7 seems to be ringing for me. They keep focusing on 7, these 7 angels around the throne known as the presence of God. And they were here. They were 7 daughters, and we can identify them as daughters. We have identified the presence of God, and we'll say Moses was a man, and at his right hand, not was his right hand, she was the sovereign, represented in this presence of God. And she had the power to part the waters. So she would instruct Moses, and Moses would go and fulfill those things, but she was the power behind it, causing it to happen. So the presence of God, like I said, I have a real fascination with Uriel. Now, the office, I believe, lines up with Uriel's office. Uriel would have been sent from above. So these women may have been really beautiful because we know the heavens possesses the ability to make you, genetically, the best that you can be. And so when these plants are incorporated into that covenant, perhaps then the science and the technology, and we know that God is in charge of all that. There's a Greek word that actually proves that. That we hit, that God has all knowledge, all understanding of all of that, those aspects that can, bring the body to the complete top that it can be. So when these daughters came, they may well have been glorious to the sons here that were taking them in covenant. They may have been absolute beauties. They may have been at the epitome of beauty. And with the power that came from heaven, they had this power. So what we saw, over time, we saw this actually being transferred over to male images is what we see. So God was saying, and the presence of God identified as women, feminine, was God on this earth. That's what they went by. And we've identified that as feminine through and through. But with the office that this particular one holds in Wisdom 18, and this was her office, and it's her. They want to stick a man in there again. It was her office, and her office is identified as having power over the word, which is allegorical to a book in one's hand, perhaps, just like you get with the image of Uriel, the Archangel. It sounds like a female to me. They can put a male and a feminine. No. And it's the same with the name Naomi. There was no masculine name Noam or Naom. There's no masculine in that. It was always only a feminine name. So we know that they alter a lot of things to shore up the male's God is what took place. But the office can be identified as a word, and what we identified the word is allegorical to your tongue, which is allegorical to your sword. So often they'll show Uriel either holding a book and sometimes with a flaming sword. So that's part of why I kind of zero in. And we know that that's part of the office that this angel, I think, because I don't know if one of them would have been in charge over the other, or if they kind of all held to the same, shared in it. But it does identify holy one, and then we do get holy ones. So there's that aspect. So Wisdom 18, verse 21, this is her office identified. For the blameless, again, they got man, we put woman, because we identified from Revelations 14:4 that the firstfruits and the holy ones are identified as women. And we did that by linking it to the word defiled there, which takes us straight back to the Shulamite with her flock of she-goats, as they're called, which is also identified as a double camp. And we know that one camp is 72,000. So when we double that double camp there, you're looking at 144,000 first fruits, because these women are promised to be reborn upon the earth again. So then we go from 7. We see that the genetic heritage over time grows, is what we see from these so-called 7 women, 7 angels, archangels that got literally cast down into the earth. And we can prove that she actually did get cast down to the earth. So we'll keep reading this now. Wisdom 18:21. For the blameless woman hastened to be their champion, bearing the weapon of her special office. The weapon was the word allegorical to a sword. Prayer, and propitiation of incense. We can absolutely prove that the propitiation of incense is feminine, not masculine. She withstood the wrath and put a stop to the calamity, showing that she was your servant. Who's identified as a servant of God in Isaiah 41, 42, 43? Israel herself. She is identified. 22, she overcame the bitterness, not by bodily strength, not by force of arm. So it's not really got the macho aspect to it, does it? But by word she overcame the smiter, remembering the sworn covenants with their ancestors. For when corpses had already fallen one on another in heaps, she stood in the midst and checked the anger and cut off its way to the living. For on her full-length robe, and it was the daughter sporting these robes in Micah chapter 2 that the men, as if they were at war, were coming against. They were ripping the robe off, which was a symbol of their offices. So we're getting multiple here. And a symbol of the glory. the women represented for the man was glory unto him, with the laws of heaven that she came to bring. So, for on her full-length robe was the whole world, and ancestral glories were carved on the 4 rows of stone, and your grandeur, Mother Wisdom, was on the crown upon her head, or you could say, Emeth, mothers of truth. Mothers of truth are the daughters of wisdom. So you could say wisdom may well have appeared there as well. So to these, even the destroyer yielded. So who's the destroyer? These he feared, for this sole trial of anger sufficed. Now I had to look at other translations on that because I wasn't quite sure what it was saying. What it was saying was just a little bit of her wrath was enough for him to turn away from this. So to these wise women, to the daughters reborn, even the destroyer Abaddon yielded. These he feared, for this sole trial of anger sufficed. Just a little bit of the wrath turned him away. That's right. He was that fearful of them. Now, the propitiation of incense, we know it's her because of the verses that we get in Song of Songs. Now, I'm going to go in here. Hopefully we can find the verses we're looking for. Okay, so it's ahead here. Sorry about this, folks. So Song of Songs, it was Song of Songs 3:6 is where we get the first actual mention of her right there. Okay, so Song of Songs 3:6, what does it say? And we're going to go into the notes on this, on the commentary. Who is this coming up from the wilderness like a column of smoke? See, we're getting her office here is what we're getting, right? The propitiation of incense. Now, what's the definition of propitiation? It means to appease, right? To appease or satisfy an angry and offended party, such as our mother. So in order for her to appease, she's got to take back her office, actually, and cause, the truth that will be revealed by her office and her word and her prayer, praying to wisdom, her mother. She's able to appease she's able to, and the propitiation of incense, which is her office. So the propitiation of incense is her rising out of the wilderness like a sweet-smelling savor unto her mother, because she's now smelling like the truth. She's no longer smelling like the Lord of Dung's pile of crap that he's fed her. So, and we saw the daughters actually being washed in this filth, as it's called, when you go look up the words with what the high priests or priests were spewing on the tables in Isaiah 28 or 29, I forget which chapter. When you look the word up there for filth, it's going to take you back to human excrement. And it's the exact same word that's used in Isaiah 4:4 when God says, I'll wash the blood and the filth. And that's human excrement off of my daughters. Human excrement is important to understand because it takes you to the Lord of Dung. The Lord of Dung was Baal. Baal is another name for your husband. The husband idol and image is another name for the golden calf idol that came straight out of Egypt, which is why then we get Jeroboam making 2 golden calf idols, and he sets one up in Dan, he sets the other one up in Ephraim, and he says to all the people in the north kingdom, particularly the daughters, you can come and worship at these. You do not need to go up to Judah to worship at that idol up there. So we know there was an idol there. And we know the exact idol because it tells us that that's what he did. He made 2 gold calf idols. And one he set up in Dan, and the other he set up in Ephraim. And he told the people, you can come worship here instead of going up to Judah to worship up there. So we know that it was the same thing being worshipped up there. And then he tells the people, this is the same God that brought you out of Egypt. You see, we get the transfer to the bull, sacrifice, the sacrificial offering blood of a male bull god Baal, who's really, and some says Balaam is another name for Jesus. Yeah. I put that link down below, and they're absolutely right. Baal means husband and bridegroom. And it began with the golden calf idol straight out of Egypt is where it began. And we see them slowly transferring this power over to this. It says, you changed my glory over to that which eateth grass, which was this bull god, which then turns over to your husband standing as Lord and God, which is why you get the kings making an idol in Daniel 2 and every successive kingdom building on it. So now where was I going? We're going down into the notes here on Song of Songs 3:6. Now I know I'm going to forget half of the stuff that I said. I'm quite tired today. So it says, what does it say? It says, who is this? This is the pulpit commentary under the verse Song 3:6. Who is this coming? In brackets, got feminine. That is, who is this lady coming? There could be no difficulty in discerning that it was a bridal procession which is seen. Now, I do have issues with bride and bridegroom because I'm so sick of the domineering aspect of the bridegroom, always over the bride. She's just, oh, well, he had to wash her clean in his blood. She represents the Spirit gave in covenant and not the current marriage covenant that is in view, like most have, as a bridegroom cometh out of his chamber for his bride, like the sun. He don't possess the sun. It was her light that ruled, it says. Isaiah 49, I will give you as a light and a covenant to the Gentiles, to all peoples of the world. So she's promised restoration of her kingdom, this spirit of this covenant. So I am offended by the word bride today and what it entails. It entails dominance of the bridegroom. And so it really offends me for that reason. The original covenant was to look like this, equal under God's eyes. That's what it was to look like. Not this foolishness that man is your head and all this crazy that, somebody made in my comment section that she's just a rib hanging off him. And I spoke on that long time ago. He got the whole body, girls. We just got a rib. I mean, how is that, not going to debase the feminine in this world? The intent is to debase her. That is the intent of that storyline. And it does debase you because we saw exactly the covenant that is in view in today's world. And it's Baal with the harlot. And that's his story that gets told. She possesses her whole own body, her own set of ribs. Oh my gosh. And you know who made her? God made her. Not Father made her. Father can't make her. You forgot your creator in the days of your youth, your mother. Now that takes us, eventually, in some of these cross references, is going to actually take us to Deuteronomy 32. God says in the New Testament, now they want to say Jesus says it or Father says it, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, I will repay. Well, it ain't father and son. Sorry. You better go back and study who is the rock that you denied in the very beginning. And we've studied this on multiple videos on Ruth Abbey. But for those who haven't been along on our journey, you wouldn't know this. So you do have to go back. You do have to pick up some of the old teachings, which we've been harping at for quite a long time now. So it's easy to miss a lot of detail. But in Deuteronomy 32:18, God says, you forgot the rock that wrought in pain to birth you. That ain't a daddy. That's a mother. So they want to put the foundation stone as masculine, the rock, Jesus, the cornerstone. No, the foundation stone was feminine. And the foundation stone that is hid in man's heart is found in Isaiah 47, where the harlot Babylon says, no one sees me. I will never be widowless. I will never be childless. Well, how do you take down the image of Baal in Daniel 2 if you don't go after the harlot that's hid in his heart? You absolutely have to go after the harlot spirit. So we do that by attacking the harlot spirit and showing the opposite of what was to rule in the land, which was the righteous spirit, where he is not her head. Because I can tell you one thing, if he's your head, you are going to be his harlot. I can tell you that, because that is what's ruling in his heart. So it's this catch-22. They tell us he's our head, but he's got the harlot ruling in his heart. What do you suppose that's going to make you, girls? I mean, I don't think I have to tell you. We already know on this channel. In Isaiah 52, God says to her daughter, shake the dust off of you, daughter Zion. Take the yoke off of your neck that this man-made religious lie and law system has placed upon your neck, and take back your throne. Sit enthroned, the throne that was intended for you. And then she says to daughter Babylon, come down, Babylon. There is no throne for you. There never was. And you can't figure out what that means. In a God of fairness, truth, and equity, God never demanded her daughters bow to a man. You know who did? Baal and his idols. That's who did. So now we have the office identified. We know the blameless woman hastened to be their champion, bearing the weapons of her special office. Prayer and propitiation of incense does take us to the Shulamite. Who is she? Not who is he. It's a maiden from Galilee is being conducted to Jerusalem. Now we see a procession as well being taken into the Ancient of Days in the book of Daniel, chapter 7, I think. And it's her with her virgins. Well, again, a virgin is a very sexualized tone that come from this lying covenant where they just really want to sexualize a woman. And that's all. And to focus on virgin is to sexualize it. It really is. What it means is they're innocent of the lie, right? They do not carry this lie that man is God. He. And if you don't think that puts man in charge, you ain't paying attention with your eyeballs or listening with your ears what's going on around this globe and what's coming off of the pulpits. If you ain't got it figured out by now, perhaps you never will. So what it says here, the spices of Arabia were famous at all times, hence the names of the perfumes. Coloring in such a representation, and the traveling spice merchants or trader was Arabic, so you get the Arabic elixir. We can scarcely miss the typical coloring in such a representation. The wilderness, typical of bondage and humiliation, sin and misery, out of which the bride, the new spirit, the new Holy Spirit, reborn in the land, is brought. So we see her coming out of the wilderness like a sweet smelling aroma. She's got the truth. She's not smelling like dung, like her husband's dung, right? That's the crap. That's the dung house, draft house that she comes out of. And she is ordained to be the ruler and governor. And we get that in Micah chapter 5, verse 2. When you look the words up, you're going to come up with a female descendant. It's Bethel Ephratah. It is not Bethlehem Ephratah. It's Bethel, house of Ephraim. And the firstborn daughter we identified comes out of the house of Ephraim, which is the north kingdom, Israel, the 10 northern tribes, which is your feminine aspect. So you get your daughter that comes out of here, your daughters that come out of here. And their special office is this, of the blameless woman. So the blameless woman, us women, will be the champion bearing the weapon of our special office, which is word, prayer, and propitiation of incense. Our mother is finally going to be able to smell us. And she's going to go, oh, they don't smell like, they don't smell like that anymore. Okay. So where else did I want to go? I had so much I wanted to say. So we're going to validate. I think we're going to try to validate this, and I think we actually managed to do it if I can get my words straightened out here. Now, we know that men lie about a lot of aspects in the Bible, and you can validate that for yourself. If you don't want to hear it and you're just hearing me for the first time, you may want to leave on this part because it's going to validate. So whenever I'm about to validate, they'll probably leave. They probably want to leave because they don't want to hear the truth. Now, in Nahum chapter 2, we're actually going to come across a way to validate just the power of her word, the real power that her word held. And so we can say that her word is actually still ruling in the sense that When she felt that the daughters turned away from her word and all the accusations that fallen Adam was making against this spirit, and we see him as the accuser in the very beginning, Adam the accuser, who ends up being Baal. Another name for your husband is Baal, and it leads you to Beelzebub, lord of the demons, Satan. And so it takes you back to that first accuser who really went after the spirit of the original covenant. And so what gets then put in place? A false foundation of a harlot spirit, when what was to rule was the key of David, known as a righteous spirit, not the key of Solomon. So we can take it all back to 666, and through wisdom we have understood the meaning of the number 666. We've absolutely validated it. We know that it hurts when it's a woman who can do these things and not a man. We know it really hurts the pride of Satan. We know this. But here we get the validation of it actually being her word that does rule in the land. And we actually get it through Balaam himself, because he cannot override her words. So Nahum 2:12 says this, the lion, this is indeed what it says, girls, the lion killed enough for his cubs and strangled the prey for his mate, filling his lairs with the kill and his dens with the prey. What do we know about the lioness? Let's just look at this article, brief article, and though we know that there's a lot of information still wrong in the sense of how it lines up to what God created. So they would have you believe it's one lion with many lionesses in his den, and he fights off all the other male lions, and he takes charge of his lionesses. Well, we can't say that they haven't perhaps altered genetics here on Earth. I believe that they have the power to do that, to try to enforce their own imagery and pictures. However, there's also a flip to that. So this is a flip fact of the day. So how do we know what is spoken of in Nahum 2:12 is absolutely wrong? Now, I'm not saying that people were uneducated in those days, but maybe they did not know this simple truth. Maybe the men who wrote it in there just assumed it was the truth. And for the most part, I believe this most of my life as well. Whenever they would hit on this, and I believe they did hit on it several times on the pulpit, and I'd be listening, and I'd hear it, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right, because I didn't know nothing too much way back. We're looking 20, 30 years ago, and maybe even longer than that. And so, your knowledge and understanding grows over time. So we absolutely can validate that verse is an outright lie, because it says more often than not, male lions get the lion's share of attention in pop culture. Indeed, they do, because of Judah, the lion of God. Jesus, right? Jesus, the idol. So he more than gets the lion's share of attention in pop culture. Men are in love with male. Males in love with male. Males are more drawn to that mane than women are, right? Than females are. And that's exactly why the male possessed the mane, which was to draw the attention of the female. Apparently it draws more attention from the males. Because you see, the males are in love with themselves. And that's what this culture has taught them. They have been taught to deny that her absolute office was over the word, and they were to adhere to that word. And we find them actually stabbing her in the back and turning on her covenant. And so these daughters, over time, we see are actually cast down. We get that in Lamentations chapter 2, and we're going to explore it a little bit more. So here we go. Traditionally portrayed as strong and courageous, a male lion's thick mane, regal stance, and bulky frame helps it project a dominant, powerful image. It's not surprising that some would imagine a male in hot pursuit of its prey, coming home to its pride an hour later with the hapless victim's neck clamped in its jaws. Well, maybe they may have stuck the hour later in there to amplify all the rest of what's about to come. I don't think it would take an hour. It probably would take a little bit longer if you want to hunt. Hunting don't take an hour. It takes a fair amount of time. So, despite that, however, this is what it says. Replacing the hulking male with a lithe female would actually paint a more accurate picture. That's it. We already know this on this channel. We already said it in a video quite a long time ago. It's the lioness, not the male lion, who hunts for the pride 85 to 90% of the time. Simply put, lionesses are better equipped for the job than males. For starters, they're extremely fast. They can run at short bursts of up to 81 kilometers an hour or 50 miles an hour to catch up with their escaping prey. As lionesses do not possess the dark manes, which ain't always a good thing, they can also blend in with their surroundings better than the males. And what they lack in sheer strength, they make up for it in stealth. I get the picture of the daughters of war here. These stealth planets who can hide and then can sneak out and pounce upon their enemy. But they can hide patiently for a very long time, and they do, as they are excellent stalkers. Staying hidden in the grass with their bellies to the ground, lionesses can sneak up to their unsuspecting targets, striking at precisely the right moment. Now that's pretty much all I want to read, but it does go on to say that the male lion and the female lioness are meant for different purposes, such as perhaps the males are better fighters and the females are better huntresses, of course. So each are geared for their own purpose. Now, what I'm going to say here may not make sense because we're going to shift from the animal kingdom to the human kingdom, to our kingdom. And I, of late, will see men entering women's races, right? And they will beat them all to pieces, these women. And then you'll get men making these videos, and I just read the captions. I don't actually go in and watch a lot of them because I'm so sick of this. I'm so sick of the blaspheming by men toward women, and that's all they really do. They just nitpick, they blaspheme, and oftentimes they'll flip everything around that a woman will say, who wants to date a violent man today? Why wouldn't it be better to be alone? Then you got these narcissistic males making videos going, you see, girls, that's why men don't want to date you, because they get so hurt by the truth. And so what I'm going to say here is these men will post these videos and they'll say, you just can't beat biology, can you, girls? Well, we got some members in the animal kingdom that don't seem to know that. They seem able to do it. They're smaller, 10%, I believe, smaller than their counterpart, maybe even more than that, and yet they run 30% faster. Oh my gosh. Biology? You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking the males have beat the female down so bad mentally, and with the law system designed to build up the men, that they have literally weakened us. When we actually were this in the beginning under the law, women could do just everything that a man could. Absolutely. And so they want to speak about biology. You need to bring up the lioness. She can run 30% faster than that bulky old lion with all his muscles and bulk and form. So you know what? It's mentally is what they did. They played with us mentally. The lion, they're going, hey lioness, you can't run faster than me. He's not there doing that. He's just being what he is, right? And but Lord knows, we women can never just be women without the male coming in to tell us what we can and cannot be, right? It's their job to do that. No, it's not. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say there. But the reason why we go after the lioness is because, of course, they've got it wrong here in Nahum, right? Like we just determined in Nahum. We'll read it again right quick before we bump ahead now. Nahum 2:12, the lion killed enough for his cubs and strangled the prey for his mate, filling his lairs with the kills and his dens with the prey. So the guys obviously thought this sounded great, right? They obviously thought it sounded so right. It's all about the male. Let's go to Numbers 23:23. And we're going to have Balaam actually validate that he could not go against the female word, which was her office. It's her divinely appointed office. You cannot go against it unless she ordains it that way. Now, we're going to go to a couple more words in a minute. First, we're going to read this. Balaam. I think this is Balaam's second oracle. Let me go up here a minute. Oh, yes. This is in Balaam's second oracle. Now, Balaam is another word for husband. as Lord and God. And I was reading up on him in Wikipedia. It's interesting what they have to say about him. I got to take this off. So it's really interesting. They have so much to say about Balaam, and a lot of it, when it's all said and done, when you trace it out through, you completely go, yes. And some of it I haven't researched enough to know whether it's true or not. So Numbers 23:23, this is the second oracle of Balaam. Surely there is no enchantment. This is interesting. So we've got a spell coming into play here. And oftentimes when they'll say no instrument formed against Israel will prosper against her, right? Or against him. It's her. Israel's feminine. Actually, there's a different rendering of it here. It says there is no magic curse against, I got Jacob, against Israel, which was the ones that they were going after to try to curse, the women. That's who they were going after. They weren't going after the men. They were going after the women. But by extension, by going after the men, by going after the women, they were going after the men. Now, we know how they actually took the right hand of God out, called these daughters of Zion, daughters of Israel, the key of David. They go by multiple names. And once you break them down, you absolutely understand it is the divine feminine that they attacked, that they went after. And they sent the women from the surrounding Adamic nations in to seduce the men inside the nation of Israel to take out the right hand of God, identified as these righteous daughters. Now, this is what it says against them. There is no magic curse against, not Jacob. Jacob stole Israel's birthright, her name. We see him wrestling with the angel, the archangel. Uriel is actually the one he actually wrestled with and stole. Now, we can say that she also went by the name Ariel. Now, there's some idea that maybe she did. So that kind of brings into contention, and we're examining this as we go. We're not saying we got it right. We're not saying we got it wrong. We're examining facts is what we're doing. We're putting them on the table, and we're looking at them. So in, what is it, Jewish Encyclopedia, or it's another one, and I do have it saved, I think, to favorites, that Uriel in anger, it becomes Uriel, and then Ariel, right? So we see Ariel, the lioness, right? Ariel means lioness of God, was attacked in Isaiah 29. Now, I do have my Bible here, and I don't have this verse pulled up, but we'll just quickly reference it, because there's two words here. One means Ariel, lioness of God, and the other Ariel means an altar hearth, right? So it means that they actually built an altar hearth to sacrifice these daughters on, is what you come up with. But in Isaiah 29, this is what it says. We did a video on this a long time ago. So this is one of the facts that we keep in play that we know. So what does it say? Woe to Ariel, the city where David dwelt. Add ye year to year, let them kill sacrifices, yet I will distress Ariel. And there shall be heaviness and sorrow, and it shall be unto me as Ariel. Well, what does that mean? Well, Ariel there, that second mention of Ariel in verse 2, means an altar hearth. So we're talking about the lioness of God. In the particular version that I read on Uriel, that Uriel became, and they also bring up Nuriel, aspect on the altar hearth. You know what? Let me see if I can find it. And I'm getting away on this. So we know that there's no magic curse. No magic curse against Israel, and no divination against Israel. It will now be said about Israel what great things God has done. So that right there is establishing the fact that she has power over the word. Balaam's curse, wanting to curse him, he had no power. There was no magic curse against, not Jacob, Israel. They could not curse her. They do not have the power to come against her word unless she allows it. Now, we see that over time she actually does allow it, right? Now, I'm going to find this first. And then we're going to read this prophecy, the second oracle of Balaam, husband. Okay. Okay, let's see here. We were going to, where? not a verse. It was a website. Okay, okay. Let me see here. Where is it? Why is that doing that? There we go. Okay. Oh. Okay, I'm too far over. That's my problem. I don't think it's Jewish Encyclopedia. It's one of them, so maybe it'll come up in this comp here. I don't think it's there. No, it's not that one. It's, I can never remember. Let me see, we'll go to the site. If we can find it. I'll know it when I see it. There it is. It's the Jewish Virtual Library. And I read it on a video a long time ago. Probably 2 to 3 years ago. Who knows? Like I said, I never get my time frames right. So this is what it says. And I want to scroll down to just read you a small part of it. So, it says, okay, the altar. Let me see, is that where I want to start reading? Yeah. So this is on Jewish Virtual Library, and the topic is Uriel, and it says the altar, which is called Ariel in Isaiah 29, 1 to 2, is thus named because of Uriel, who descended in the likeness of a lioness, not a lion, to crouch on the altar. They just threw a... Okay, let's get that out of the way. Descended in the likeness of a lioness. Let's get this right, because we're looking at Ariel, the lioness of God. Like a lioness, to crouch on the altar and devour the sacrifices. At her descent, the hearts of the priests and the children of Israel were gladdened, because they recognized thereby that the sacrifices had been accepted with favor. Did they really, though? The appearance of Uriel in the altar fire caused all those who could see the flames to suffer. And there they go, throwing me up another one. Oh. To suffer a change of heart and repent. Yet for Israel's sins, Uriel's primary strength was taken from her, and instead of the fire containing divine inspiration, a strange fire descended on the altar, which took the form of a demonic dog. In several passages of the Zohar, Uriel and Nuriel are the same angel, seen under different aspects. She is called Uriel under the aspect of mercy, but Nuriel under the aspect of rigor and severity. So, there's something there with Uriel and Ariel. Uriel supposedly descended as a lioness, crouching on the altar head. We know they take these 7 angels, archangels, or angels from God, women from God, gave in covenant to teach man the law of heaven. And when they rejected that, they flipped this over. And then we actually get kind of the worship of heavenly angels. We do. So, and the angel said, you were not to worship anyone, neither male nor female. You were to make no idols, but you are to follow the way of God. And that way of God came off of these 7's tongue. And so we get this kind of this crossover, the presence of God, identified as these possible 7 women that were gave in covenant that they refer to as angels. So they were not to go up to the rooftops. They were not to worship the hosts of heaven. And that is where these 7 would have come from. They would have come from the heavens. And they did not ask for worship. That was Adam accusing them of multiple things, comes into different passages when we get examining what the men were actually doing against the women. And we know why they were doing it, because we're told that Adam was a thief and a liar from the beginning. So thievery was part of what he wanted. And the other part, let her eyes look upon Zion, let her be defiled. They wanted to defile these women. They absolutely wanted to defile them, and they did. And they did it under a false light, which then becomes the false, lying, current marriage covenant that she is on bondage to. So God says, take the yoke off of your neck, daughter Zion. Shake the dust and take back your throne. You are never to play his harlot. He is not your head. He never was. That's the lies of Baal. And it smells to the high heaven. It stinks. That's why she's got to take back her office. And so I tend to see Uriel as head here in the office of the word, because often they'll picture him, Uriel, holding a book or a flaming sword. It's her. It was her office. And so we know this. Okay, we're going to go back to this prophecy in number 23:23. What does it say? Okay, so first we read it. There is no magic curse. Their word holds absolutely no power but what you want to give it. It was her office. The word is her office. So we're getting magic. And it does speak in part of Balaam being a great wizard. And so, but yet his wizardry, as great as it was, he had no power over her word. None. He could not go against her word, because that is her office, as well as the propitiation of incense. So there is no magic curse. There is no magic enchantment. There is no omen, enchantment, divination, spell. Some has it, a spell cast against Israel. Neither is there any divination against Israel. According to this time, it shall be said of Israel and Israel, what hath God wrought? A people rise up like now, you know what? The King James is the only one here. No, there's one other, the NIV, is the only ones that have it as a lion. And it's not, when you go and look it up, it is in fact a lioness, and it is prophesied correctly as a lioness. Ariel means lioness of God. So a people, the people, you look the word people up, it's feminine. I believe it's a feminine, it may be a masculine. But the people rise up like a lioness. This is the women rising in the end. They rouse themselves like a lioness. They will not lie down until they devour the prey and drink the blood of the slain. So then Balak told Balaam, don't curse them and don't bless them. But Balak answered and said unto Balak, told not I thee, saying, all that the Lord speaketh, that I must do. You see, it's validating her word as the office, not his. We also get validation in Ecclesiastes 12. For those who's been with us, we get the word koheleth. It means female assembler. They want to put it as a nom de plume because we know that that's what Baal does. He's a liar, and he was a thief from the beginning. He stole her office, or so he thought he did. But we even get the destroyer backing down from her word when she takes back her charge in her office. So the koheleth was, and you keep reading in Ecclesiastes 12, and you keep reading down, and her office meant to set the Proverbs in order. So it's important that she sets the Proverbs in order because of what it says in Psalm 50, and we'll go there if I have it up. Okay. Where is it? Because, it's not easy to remember everything I said, and I would like to include most everything I said. So in Psalm 50, we know it's her, and we also get the mention of the lionesses again. In Psalm 50, the mighty one calls. Now, who's that calling? Well, I believe that is daughter Zion, one of the sevenfold spirit, as she's called, represented in the rainbow of colors. That's God who put the rainbow there. And each one represents a spirit. And so these spirits are calling us out of the wilderness is what you kind of get. So the mighty one here calling is wisdom. So that's those whole seven. And so when we go down, and you can read this whole chapter, validates the feminine, in my opinion. We have done studies on this particular chapter. But when we go here to verse 20 of Psalm 50, thou sittest and speakest against thy, it says, brother. No, you spoke against your sister. Adam accused her, right? He accused her in the very beginning. He's the first accuser we ever find in the Bible. And Satan is called the accuser, and he stole her throne of power. Isaiah 14, I will be like the Most High. So he takes her throne of power is what he does. So 20, thou sittest and speakest against thy sister. You slanderest your own mother's daughter. And he did. And you know what she says? And I can't remember the chapter, but it's Job. It might be 26. I can't quite remember it. She says, oh, that my enemy had written his accusations in a book, I would bind them on my head. She says, oh, that my accuser, let's find it. It's important enough to find it. So we'll go back here. We will go here. And we will find the verse in Job, verses in Job, because we did a video. Job, right there, my adversary. That's what he's called there, her adversary, right? Oh, that one would hear me. She's calling out to the ancient to hear her case. Behold, my desire is that the Almighty would answer me and that my adversary had written a book. We found that he had written a book. It was this right here. It's full of nothing but accusations to the female. And you know who the accuser is here? Adam. Look the word up. Man. Man is our accuser. You can't see men daily accusing us every day, just like the nature of their father, Satan, who was the accuser from the beginning, Adam. And he accused the spirit of the original covenant is what he was doing. And then the story gets that she's nothing more than his rib. Well, that's a harlot, right? That's the harlot spirit hanging off of him. She's part of him. She does what he wants. She raises her children up under his religious lies and lung. I forget what I was going to say. And you know, more or less becomes defiled in all of his filth and goes along with it and just refuses to study. God says, test the spirits. God will tell you, I make sense. You know, God makes sense. God reasons. He gave life to everything. He did he? Father formed the clay. No, Father did not. You told the potter she had no power over her own creation. She is the one that forms the clay. You denied the rock who writhed in pain to birth you. That was your foundation stone, your cornerstone. But you chose to set a harlot spirit in play, and that is promised to be burned out with fervent heat. That is your embers, representing as these daughters that come back into existence that will purify you with the word of truth in your deep allegories. So she says that the Almighty would answer me and that my adversary had written a book. Now we studied this, I believe this whole chapter, maybe it wasn't the whole chapter. Maybe it was that in a couple other verses around it in a study not that far back. So we know the adversary here is actually Adam himself. So let's just do a quick lookup of this word. Wow, this is going to be a long video. Interlinear. My accuser. We know the accuser was the man who accused the first woman. That's what he did. And we knew he was called a thief and a liar from the beginning. His thievery, his lie, got him her goods. That's what it got him. Let me see. Here it's called your prosecutor had written that a book that my prosecutor, the one who's prosecuting. So we get the court case here in view. She's brought to the Ancient of Days, and she's actually restored back her dominion, which means she gets her office in the second heaven restored back to her, because we're looking at first, second, third heaven. So it gets kind of hard to play around with these three heavens. It really does. But we've examined so many details that we missed. So it's important to go back and pick those back up. So your accuser here, guess what? It's 376 Hebrew, ish. You know what that means? Man. Man's accusing who? Man's accusing man. Is that right? No, Satan, man, fallen Adam, Beelzebub, is accusing woman. That's who he accused in the very beginning. You do not see it? And Satan's gonna fall like lightning. Because you know what she does? She takes her office back. she goes silent for a very long period of time. We're going to look up a couple of words here. So we saw Balaam is actually validating the fact that they really cannot go against her word, that she really is the one with the power over the word. Now, we're also told that she actually turns away from defending her people. She turns away from that office. She says, fine, you don't want me. We'll let him have it for a while. Not that she can't take it back and up at any time she wants, because apparently she can, because it's office to do. Now, trying to figure out where I'm heading. Okay. Okay, so again, I had went to this for the propitiation. Yeah. So the propitiation of incense. So I had actually looked up two words. Strong's Greek 2433, which was propitiation. Now can I find them? That's 346. No, that's not what I want. No. Because this is kind of important if I can find it. There it is. So, okay, 2433. Strong's Greek, to be propitious and make propitiation for. I have mercy on, I show favor to. So when she gives us daughters the Spirit back upon us, you know what we're able to do? We're able to seek out the truth and find it. And that truth has been hidden from us for a very long time. But once the Spirit comes back on us, we are able to reveal the truth. We become the revealers of truth. Now, that's the definition of a true prophetess. A true prophetess can show you what's been hidden. That's the definition of a prophetess, to show and to be able to reveal hidden truths. It doesn't mean to have visions, all right, and dreams. Like we've been taught, a prophet will have dreams and visions and tell them, and then they will be fulfilled. Well, we know Adam or fallen Adam, Satan, is a self-fulfilling prophet. He'll write things that are not true, but then he has the ability to fulfill them, such as what we're told in Revelations. He has the power to send fire down onto the earth. And I'm sure he also has the ability to give these visions to those who are really into the religious lie of Adam as God and built up on that. So that's not what the definition of a true prophetess would be. The definition of a true prophetess is those who are able to go in and to reveal hidden truths. That's what it means. We're able to do that when we are actually initiated into that mystery. We can't find it ourselves. We're actually initiated into it by the Holy Spirit. So I know that there's a spirit upon me. I think I'm the twin, is what, the twin that gets, everyone has produced a twin in the earth. And I think there's a spirit upon me that is teaching me and that is developing me and shaping me and forming me, and that I am her twin. That's what maybe as the presence of God, like an avatar, they like to say. Now, maybe that's not the correct term. But that's what it comes down to. A prophetess means revealing hidden truths, something that is not known. So that's the definition of a true prophetess. It doesn't mean to prophesy some silly little dream that you had. And we know Satan can give dreams and visions, and he has the ability to fulfill because currently he's ruling in the second heaven with her throne of power. So he does have power to be able to fulfill some of these dreams and visions that idol worshippers will tell you that they have had. So I have mercy on, show favor to, appeasement, satisfaction of divine wrath on sin, properly to extend propitiation, showing mercy by satisfying, literally propitiating the wrath of God on sin, to conciliate, appease. Okay, so we get this word. And then we get the Strong's Hebrew, which should be, I think, the next one too. Where's my pointer? Yeah. Strong's Hebrew 3722, to cover over, pacify, make propitiation. Why is this word, such an important word? And I would link it to that verse, and I'm out of tabs. I got way too many up. But I would link it to that verse in Job where it says, the womb of Sheol lies exposed. Abaddon has no covering. Starting to make sense, isn't it? Abaddon, who is also the smiter, who is also the destroyer, now lies exposed when the womb of Sheol lies exposed and what they've done. So we know to cover over and to pacify and make propitiation has to do with her office, the propitiation of incense, a sweet-smelling savor, of finally her word being back on her tongue. These pure ones, these, what were they called? Blameless ones, undefiled ones. They're not defiled with the harlot Babylon and her religious lies and teaching of man as God, he, right? That's the harlot spirit in the land. These daughters are coming out of the wilderness, having been in bondage, right? And they're smelling sweet unto their mother. So that's what it means to actually give man a covering and protection. We're not literally, in a sense, accusing him. We're saying, you lied. Now, you can say that's an accusation. Perhaps it is. But we're not, according to verse, when we defend our cause, it doesn't necessarily mean, that we're not protecting him. By defending us and standing up for our cause, it's actually a covering unto the man. Without us daughters to rise up with the truth in our mouth, the cleansing word off of our tongue, there cannot be a covering over a propitiation. There can't be. The daughters have to be forgave first, and then the sons, right? They want to teach blood and an idol. God said, you saw no image, you make no image. You follow my way. And the way I told you to follow my way was off of my daughter's tongue that I sent you in covenant, and then you turned your back on him and lied, is what you did. So now we have this willingness of this branch to cover over and to pacify the true creator with the truth. That's what we do, and take back the true word. So in this, we get this. If we scroll down into the notes of Strong's Hebrew 3722, it means, and we're going to go into the ritual of this, is where we found it, I think. I wrote it down. It should say 1. Yeah. 1. You got to scroll down a little bit, and it'll say, apart from the ritual, thy sin shall be covered over. By the touch of the live coal, there we go with the embers being reborn out of the ashes, the ash heap that we see. This Lord was burned to an ash heap in Psalm 68. Now she promises to bear the burden upon her. We're going to go to a word in Greek in a minute. So apart from the ritual, by the touch of the live coal from the altar, what did we discover when we studied the seraphim or cherubim in Ezekiel? That when that angel was instructed to take embers and to toss it out amongst the people, what did it represent? It represented her future posterity. That's right. And if you take a coal and you rest it against your lips, would it not? I don't know. The idea is to purify, but it's also, wouldn't it melt? It would almost silence, a person from speaking. So God says in one verse, you are not fit to carry the statutes on your tongue. They were never intended for you to carry on your tongue. They were intended for my chosen ones to carry, not you. So would this not kind of have that aspect? Perhaps it would, perhaps it wouldn't. But this is what it says. It says, surely this iniquity shall not be covered over with instrumental. Now, they want to take it to Isaiah 27:9. By this shall the iniquity of, not Jacob, Israel, be covered over. We can say Jacob as well, because Jacob stole her birthright, and so by extension she becomes like him. So you can say that. But the real undertone is her wanting to forgive Israel and the daughters for what happened. So by this shall the iniquity of Israel be covered over, namely by the destruction of idolatrous objects. Proverbs 16:6. By mercy and fidelity, truth. By mercy and truth, iniquity is covered over, not by the lie in the land on the daughters' tongues. The idolatrous objects here, they want to tell you it's the Asherah groves. And why this was an idolatrous object, we actually saw the kings tearing down the female representation and leaving the male one standing. What we then find is the harlot in Isaiah 47 saying, no one sees me, I'm hid in his heart. So in order to take the true idolatrous idol in the land that you find in Daniel 2, built up by every king, right, and onward from Nebuchadnezzar and before him, they began this. We saw it in the Old Testament, we saw it in the Exodus. But in order to take that image down of man as God and Lord and King, you've got to take the harlot spirit out of the heart. That's what you got to do. So, yes, we've got to destroy these idols, both male and female, though she's the hidden one. So once you find the hidden one, you can take that one out, and then he falls right behind that. So we get that. Yeah. And then we also get the Lioness, do we not, in Micah. Because of, we didn't finish Psalm 50, so let's go in and finish Psalm 50. The Koheleth. And she's setting the case in order, the Proverbs in order to present her case to the Ancient of Days when she and her daughters, like-minded daughters, are brought before the Ancient of Days. Now it's here. Where's Isaiah 50? Did I miss Isaiah 50? Or did I look the word up there? No, I didn't. Okay, so it's here somewhere. So we were reading in Isaiah 50. Okay, I thought it was right behind that one. Okay, well, we'll keep looking. So in Isaiah 50, we actually saw her saying to Adam, allow me to set the case in order now. Right there. So you sat and you spoke against your own sister. You slandered your own mother's daughter. These things you done, and I kept silence. Now, where do we find her no longer holding her peace? Because she's held her peace all this time. That kind of has the idea of her in the second heaven holding her peace. Because she has gone forth and done a great, I think, a study and an inquisition into the bloodshed, into this particular allotment, which is hers. And so when the ruling came that he would hold power over the word, Mother was waiting for her to present her case, is the idea. That comes in the spirit in the second heaven doing it, while we here on earth kind of, and then the spirit comes upon us and we're able to present that case. So these things has thou done and I kept silent. Isaiah 42, long time have I been restrained. I have held my peace. Now will I go forth as a travailing woman. I will destroy and devour at once. I will lead you in pathways that you have not known. I will dry up oceans. Your religious lies, which was water, identified as water. So these things has thou done, and I kept silent. You thought I was altogether a man like you. You thought I was just like you. That's the harlots. They're men. They teach his lie. So they're just like him. They're just like Baal. But she says, you thought I was a man just like you. But I will reprove you, Adam, and I will set the case in order before your eyes. You see? This is your Koheleth. This is her taking back her office, which was power over the word in the propitiation of incense. So, and that's going to lead to the appeasement, all right, of the true living God. And you denied the rock that gave life to you. You denied her and you said it was daddy. Let's read another rendering. You have done these things and I kept silent. You thought I was just like you, Adam. But I will rebuke you and I will lay out the case before you. The Koheleth, setting the Proverbs in order. The female assembler. Understand this, you who forgot God. This is where the Lioness comes in. Or I will tear you apart and there will be no one to rescue you or deliver you. So whosoever offereth praise unto the Ancient of Days, glorifieth me, and to those that ordereth their conversation aright, will I show the true salvation of God, not your religious lie of blood washing you clean. Blood defiles you. So we get this. And when we go to Micah chapter, I should have it here somewhere. Chapter 5, I believe. Yeah, it is. It's Micah chapter 5. I may have to go back to that, Micah. There's Song of Songs. Okay. Okay, we get there. So it's back here. So we'll have to go to Micah, this Micah first. I got Micah 3 out. So Micah 3:6. Yeah. And when she come off of us, this is what it says. Therefore the night will come over you without vision, and darkness without divination. The sun will set for the prophetess, and the day will go dark for them. So she quit speaking to us. She turned her back on us. But we also understand that part of the reason why she did that was to allow herself to go forth and to make an investigation. That plays out over thousands of years for us here, whereas according to what we understand in the heavenly time frameworks, very different out there. So the prophetess are found in Psalm 74 when the men are like axemen welding axes. They move into the daughters' sanctuary. It appears that each of the 10 northern tribes each held their own sanctuaries, their own governmental offices, I guess you'd call them, where they would go in and they would speak to the heavenly authority, God. And from there, then they would take it out into their land. And then from there, they would move it into the south kingdom, Judah. And they would flow like a living water, word, known as the key of David. We saw Solomon transferring this key of David over to a harlot spirit, changing the flock of Bozrah in the midst to a harlot, destroying the women's houses, the wise women's houses, and their inheritance. And part of the way that they did that was to rip their royal glory away from them, found in these robes, this office of glory that they held. And there they defiled them. They ripped the garment off of them as well. So the women say in Isaiah 74, after the men come in and destroy their signs and place their own signs, the women are all standing around looking at one another going, how long will this last? None of us know how long this will last. Will it last until we're able to present a case? We go silent. And we've gone silent for thousands of years is our understanding in this court case. So we get the lionesses in chapter 5. And it is lionesses. Even Balaam couldn't lie about it. And if we scroll down, we know they're out amongst the Gentiles, is what it says. So the remnant of not Jacob, he stole her name, Israel. In some actually, research when you look up Uriel, some says it was the Archangel Uriel that did in fact wrestle with Jacob. So he stole her, and it is feminine. It is not a masculine. It's male and female in the womb. The male stole her birthright. And the remnant of Israel shall be in the midst of many people as a dew, that's your doctrine, and it comes off of their tongue, not his, from the Lord, as the showers upon the grass that tarrieth for no man, nor waiteth for the sons of men. So she's not ordained by man, she's ordained by the Spirit. And the remnant, of Israel shall be among the Gentiles in the midst of many people as a lioness among the beast system, man, playing God of the force, as a young lioness among the flocks of the sheep, who if she go through, both treadeth down and teareth in pieces, and none can deliver. So we get even the destroyer backing off, because her office is the word. And she's got clout. There's clout backing her up. Thine hand shall be lifted up upon thine adversaries, and all thine enemies shall be cut off. So we get the lioness here, and we've used Micah, the book of Micah, to identify a lot of things happening. In 74, it was them like axemen coming against her in the house in the forts of Lebanon. It's really what we identified. And they were ripping their glory away from them, tearing all knowledge and existence of them. And then Psalm 74, where they're like axemen, wielding axes, cutting the trees down. That was cutting the daughters down. And ripping the glory away from them and defiling them. And then it takes us to Isaiah 14, where he exalted himself to her throne. And it says, but since thou hast come up against him, no axeman has come up against us. They can't, right? Because she's took her off his back. I've been lately, I've seen this term daughters of war, and I can't help but think of these lurking lionesses planets who silently been in wait, awaiting for the moment to strike, is what I kind of see. And they're called the daughters of war. And their word can become a sword. Now we're going to go to this word indignation. It's an important word, and I'm going to look through my notes here to see what we do have. Okay, so the notes I really want to go to is found in this book. So move that out of the way. I got a mess here. Okay, so I'm going to move forward. Yeah. So let's just read these right quick. Jeremiah 15:16. And the cross references on this is quite amazing. I don't have time to go into them, but I did go into them, and some of them were really great to study. When I discovered your words, I devoured them. They are my joy and my heart's delight, for I bear your name, Lord God Almighty. Almighty is wisdom, Mother. For you understand, O Lord, remember me and attend to me. Avenge me against my persecutor, who was our accuser, our prosecutor. That was Adam, man. You avenge me against my persecutor. In your patience, do not take me away. Know that I endure reproach for your honor, dear Mother. I never sat with a band of revelers, nor did I celebrate with them. Because your hand was on me, I sat alone, for you have filled me with indignation. That's why. So I'm going to look at the word indignation in a minute. Briefly, we're going to look at John. What did John do when he was instructed to take the Biblios? And it was the Biblios, this Bible, the accusation written by man towards her, the spirit, the original spirit of the original covenant, who he then accuses and turns actually into a harlot spirit, bowed down at his feet. So, because he was a thief and a liar from the beginning. So, we get the indignation here. But when John is told to eat the Biblios, these words in the Biblios, right? We know it is not the little book that he eats, because he is told to seal that, and he is not allowed to speak on it. Why? Because the word is not appointed unto a man, it is held by these 7 daughters. So when the 7 thunders utter, it's these daughters that got dumped in the earth, and she does so leave behind her posterity, for future posterity. He leaves cast these embers out that will grow into a future posterity. And it seems like they come from or descend from the original presence of God on earth. Now we're really looking at angels here. Oh, no. Yes, they were. They were cast down in the earth. The glory of God was cast down. Lamentations chapter 2. And it is identified as feminine that was cast down. From her, she takes back a great descendancy, even greater. This 144,000 were descendant of these daughters that got cast down. We're also told she does, in a sense, leave behind a rear guard. A rear guard that will rise up in the end. Now that's what they're appointed to do. So I would say find your calling. Understand your word and understand the power of your word. It holds great power over all things, the elements. Why do you think they were able to part the waters? Now, what does it say in the New Testament? And this is where it's going to take you down to the fact that these daughters with real heavenly authority got cast down. They had it removed off of them, but in the end they take it back and rise up. It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of a living God. Now, you can say it doesn't mean that. Oh, yes, it does. It does so. That's your living God, that you do not want to fall into her hands or into her wrath, which is why he immediately backs off when she starts showing her power. Okay. Okay, so when John takes the book, all right, because the little book is sealed up because no man can speak on it, only the Holy Spirit identified as these 7 daughters who will speak with a thunder like a thunder can utter those words. That's for her. That's her office. So John is told to eat down the words of the Biblios, or to eat this Bible, Biblios, down. And you know what it is? It's sweet on his tongue, but it is bitter in his stomach. Oh, it upsets his stomach. You know, here in Jeremiah 15:16, there's no mention of an upset stomach. None. She says, when I discovered your words, I devoured them. They are my joy and my heart's delight, for I bear your name, Mother Wisdom. Lord God Almighty, I bear your name. I remember you. There is no bitterness in this remembrance. What the bitterness is that she forgot. It's kind of weird. Anyway, so for John, it becomes bitter in his stomach. So understand, it wasn't what we know as the little book, because that's on us to open and to reveal. And it's a little book full of the truth. John's words were bitter in his stomach because he now knew the truth. He knew he had to go out and he had to speak this religious lie that he knew to be a lie. And yet God says, you must go forth and you must prophesy this. And it was bitter in his stomach. Oh, it was sweet on his tongue. Yeah, sweet on his tongue, like it is to so many of the men who wants to go on your head, woman, because they really know that one. That's why I hit on that one, because I hear it so bloody much. I heard it in my everyday life growing up. Man is woman's head. She can't do that. Blah, 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 blah. I heard it. How could I not want to focus on it? So we know that these religious lies just is like honey on their tongue. But once they know the truth, doesn't it become bitter in the gut? It becomes like bitterness in the stomach. God says to Babylon, I will force you to vomit up all that you have swallowed down. And that's what it's talking about. Those bitter words, those lies. And I'm going to force them out of your stomach. You're going to throw them up. And what were the sons doing? They were making a mess over the tables when they got drunk on that wine. Yeah. So again, what does it say here? What does it say? It says, when I discovered your words, I devoured them. They are my joy and my heart's delight, for I bear your name, Lord God Almighty. You understand, O Lord. Remember me and attend to me. Avenge me against my persecutor, my accuser, man, against woman. In your patience, do not take me away. Know that I endure reproach for your honor, Mother, and I do. I never sat with a band of revelers, nor did I celebrate with them because your hand was on me. I sat alone, for you have filled me with indignation. That's often how it is with the holy ones. We get this word indignation. Going to look at it here in a minute. But we get this word alone. They sit alone. And that's what it means to be isolated and alone in this truth. You are preserved in it. Yeah. In a sense, we did never sit with the idolaters because in our heart of hearts, we knew there was something wrong. We couldn't pinpoint it. And once she gives it back to us, then we are able to pinpoint exactly what was wrong. And we knew it was from the beginning. And so it says of these daughters in Zephaniah chapter 3, they bear the reproach of this lie upon them. And that's why, in a sense, you have never sat with the revelers, the idol worshippers, the harlots who likes to brag and go, we're right, look at us. And the men, Baal, who wants to be worshipped and idolized. We're right, they're the revelers that God is actually speaking of. So in Zephaniah, we get this. We'll go there because we haven't referenced this in a while. If I can find it. I'll try Nahum, Shebekiah. Too far in? Zephaniah. Zephaniah 3. Yeah, her prophets are light and treacherous persons. Her priests have polluted the sanctuary. They have done violence to the law. Oh, have they ever? Yep, they have. But what does it say of the women? I'm just looking. I'm trying to remember what verses it was. Was it chapter 3? It was Zephaniah. Yeah. Yeah. I just got to look for it. 18. Yeah, it was further in. So I will gather them that are sorrowful for the solemn assembly, who are of thee, to whom the reproach of this religious lie and yoke on their neck was a burden. So there's appointed a certain core group of women that have borne and carried this burden. You'll know it yourself. You know you've carried this burden. You do. So we're going to understand this burden here that these women carried. And behold, at that time I will undo all that afflict you. And I will save her that halteth, and I will gather her that was driven out, and I will get them praise and fame. Another name that another few words that they often will put with Satan or the devil is the accuser, and he defamed her. He defamed and blasphemed her holy name. In every land where they have put you to shame. At that time I will bring you again, even in the time, at that time that I gather you, for I will make you a name and a praise among all people of the earth when I turn back your captivity, take the yoke off of your neck before your eyes, saith the Lord. So we're going to hit on burden here with this Lord. 136 is her number. She has great indignation here in Jeremiah 15, verse 17. We'll read it again to pick the word up. I never sat with the band of revelers. I never. Nor did I celebrate with them, because your hand was on me. I sat alone, for you have filled me with indignation, with a righteous anger. We'll read this as well. Jeremiah 14. Why are you like a woman taken by surprise, like a warrior powerless to save? She will awaken like a warrior that's been drunk on wine. That's your wine on the table, which represents blood, which represents a Red Sea, the admixture of religious lies and laws that she's got to part as the presence of God on earth to get her children out through safely. I will lead you in pathways that you have not known. She will be the new covering for the man, protecting him. Yet you are among us, O Lord, yet we are among them. Yeah. Yet you are among us, O Lord, and we are called by your name. Do not forsake us. So there's a core group of women who are very different in nature. They are able to come away from the lie. And you've been appointed because you carried this burden. So we're going to hit the burden here in this reference here of Strong's Greek 24. When we go through these words, all right, now let's find it. I did the video yesterday or the day before. And so I left these tabs up. So now I'm finding my way through them again, like the first time. So 24, Strong's Greek 24. Indignation, which is the word that we're going to focus in here. In the Old Testament, we're going to take it to the New Testament. So because your hand was on me, I sat alone, for you have filled me with indignation. So Strong's Greek 24, indignation, noun feminine. It's a feminine noun. She's feeling of anger, indignation, vexation. All right? These are your lionesses that'll rise up. Yep, indignation. So then when we hit on this, its derivative, I think, will take us back to 23. And it means to grieve much, hence to be indignation. So I am angry and incensed. So part of the mourning process, and she was mourning, she was accused, she was violated, she's been defiled. In many sense, the original spirit was murdered out of the land. Mother became angry. That's the daughter Zion herself in the second heaven that makes inquisitions into the blood that gets shed here in the earth. So she uses the water and the blood to testify, is what she does. The spirit does. That's her. And then she places her spirit upon us to do this to the man, right? To testify against the man, to the man. If he will receive the new washing, then he will be reborn a new man. If not, he will be cleansed out of the land. So 23, to grieve much. So to be angry, part of the grieving process is anger. It is. So to grieve much, hence to be indignant. I am angry, incensed, to be greatly displeased, to be greatly afflicted. Figuratively indignant, be much sore, displeased, be moved with indignation. Now, this is where these words indignation led me to. And it led me to this word, and I've seen this word like 5 years ago in my study. And God, there for a stretch of time, kept putting it up in my face and putting it up in my face. And I could not for the life of me understand why. I did a little bit, but not to the degree that I would over time, and especially now. So it takes you to this word, these two words that means indignation, and then to grieve much, 43, which means a bent term. And it's noun feminine, a nerve, especially as bent to receive a what? A burden, right? So we know that I will gather them that are sorrowful for the solemn assembly, who are thee, to whom the reproach, the religious lie, the yoke on their neck, the lie that the first Adam spewed, accused us of, wrote it in a book, she wore it on her head like a crown, so that at the end she could rise up and testify. That's the idea. And the reproach of it was a burden. So this is an arm, especially as bent to receive a burden. The burden she's receiving is children and the deliverance of them. That's the burden she's receiving. So it speaks of a burden, bent, curve, inner angle of the arm. So from there, the one usage that we get of indignation, okay, so keep this burden in mind, the bent arm of the children. But the one use of indignation, Strong's Greek number 24, is 2 Corinthians 7:11. Listen to what it says. And this is concerning us at the end, after we've received this burden, right, upon us to deliver the children. She agrees to take this cup and drink it down. And she does drink it down, where she's shown drinking the cup down in Psalm 116, and that she will take this burden upon herself to deliver the children in the end. So 2 Corinthians 7:11, see what this goodly sorrow has produced in you. So in order to rise up at the end, she actually has to take on physically the burden and the deliverance of children into life at the end. So that meant going forth throughout all these generations, in a sense, asleep. So we get the elect asleep that will be awoke in Romans chapter 11, where it says, and we'll look at it in a minute. Let's finish this first. So she actually goes to sleep, all right, throughout the generations, this spirit. And then she awakens at the end, like a warrior that's been drunk on wine. So 2 Corinthians 7:11, see what this goodly sorrow has produced in you. What earnestness, and this is what it does for us, sisters. What eagerness to clear yourselves. What indignation, there's the word. What alarm, what longing, what concern. What readiness to see justice done. At every point, you have proved yourselves to be innocent in this matter. Isn't that cool? That's what the purpose of it is. Now, it does go on here. All right. So though she lays the case out in order for Adam to see, she actually is saying, I will be your covering. If you will receive my word once again, I will offer protection for you. I won't come after you like a lioness. So she's his covering, and she's offering it back to him in covenant, in the original covenant. So God says, in every way you have proved yourself to be innocent in this matter. Verse 12. So even though I wrote to you, it was not on account of the one who did wrong or the one who was harmed, but rather that your earnestness on our behalf would be made clear to you in the sight of God. She's telling us, daughters, you are cleared of any guilt, of any fault. You have proven you were innocent in this matter. That's what the end result of this court case is. And we see the dominion being restored back to her. So then we get the burden, and we'll just kind of backtrack on the burden here because we can do it. She's the one that daily bore their burden, which takes us back to the verse in Jeremiah 14. Why are you like a woman taken by surprise, like a warrior powerless to save? You're not powerless to save. The word is your office. That's your power. You have power over that. Yet you are among us, O Lord, and we are called by your name. Do not forsake us. So it's on us, right? Like a warrior powerless to save. Are you like a warrior? No. She's saying, no, you're not. So, but when we go to this verse, and we can prove this is her, she, not he. They love sticking the he pronoun. Isaiah 63, what does it say? We'll go up. Right there. So we also see in all their affliction, she was afflicted, and she was. And the angel of not his presence, her presence. That's why the archangels or angels come into play here. It was the daughters cast down. And through their descendancy, their spirit rises up again, right? And the angel of her presence saved them. And in her love and in her pity, she redeemed them, and she bare them and carried them all the days of old. Now they want to tell you that's daddy. Well, let's go to Isaiah 46. We've done this. Hearken unto me, O house of Israel, not Jacob, all the remnant of Israel, which are carried by me from the belly, from my belly, which are carried from my womb. Now, watch what they say. Even to your old age, I am he. Isn't that funny? No, I am she. It is she who bore the burden to deliver you. And even to your old age will I carry you. I have made, I will bear, and I will carry, and I will deliver you. Deuteronomy 32. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, I will repay. You forgot the rock that writhed in pain to deliver you and birth you. That's a she, not a he. And here she says, I will carry you in my womb. So when we go back to Isaiah 63, we know it's she carrying this burden that she received unto herself. She agreed to it. In all their affliction she was afflicted, and the angel of her presence saved them, and in her love and in her pity she redeemed them, and she bare them, and she carried them all the days of old. You told the potter, the creator, the maker, she had no power over her own clay. But they rebelled and they vexed her Holy Spirit. Therefore, she was turned to be their enemy, and she fought against them. And she did, and she has, and she's doing it now. So all of these are still at play. Then she remembered the days of old, the one drawn from the water, and her people saying, where is she that brought them up out of the sea with the shepherd of her flock? Where is she that put her Holy Spirit within him, within them? That led them by the right hand of Moses. She led them with her glorious arm, dividing the water before them to make herself an everlasting name. That's Israel. That led them through the deep as a horse in the wilderness, that they should not stumble. So in Song of Songs, they tell her, you are like a mare among Pharaoh's army. So I see the word mare there, and I wonder if there isn't some overlay there, overplay on the revealer of truth, the Lord that appears in Daniel 3, Daniel 2, 3, 4, somewhere in there. And the word there is Mare as well, M-A-R-E. And it's the Lord of Kings. Yeah. And a revealer of truth. And Nebuchadnezzar says to Daniel, truly your God is the God of Kings, or the Lord of Kings, for only your God could reveal these things unto us. So that's your revealer, that's your great prophetess, but she's also referred to as a mare in Pharaoh's army, in the wilderness, that they should not stumble. As a beast goeth down into the valley, the Spirit of the Lord caused her to rest, so didst thou lead thy people to make thyself a glorious name. So then that can take you back to Zechariah chapter 3. So they want to really screw it up and say, stick the he pronoun in there all over the place. And then when we go back to Psalm 68, it was this Lord that was burned to ashes. We know it was this Lord burned to ashes. We've studied this one inside and out. We get the embers rising up out of these ashes. Blessed be the Lord who daily bears our burden. That's she. That's daughter, the Lord's number 136. That's how we can absolutely identify it's feminine. The God who is our salvation. Salvation is 3444. That's our Lord Yeshua, the deliverer, female, feminine, deliverers, victors, the ones who gets the victory for us. So God is to us a God of deliverances, and to God the Lord belongs escapes from death. That's her. That's her power. She's mentioned multiple times. She's mentioned as being the one among us, or the ones, plural, among us. She is the presence, the angel of God's presence amongst us, angels of presence amongst us. The seven thunders is feminine, that utters this truth, but man cannot utter it, so the book has to be sealed until they begin to speak and to utter it. What else do we got? We were going to go and we're going to just look at this. Yeah, see, I had them all there. So Isaiah 31:4, this is us daughters here at the end. Watch them. For thus has the Lord spoken unto me, like as the lioness and the young lioness. We could maybe put the young males there who may be in agreement, roaring on her prey, when a multitude of shepherds, those mighty men on the pulpit, setting it straight, can't be bothered to actually study truth or reason with it. A multitude of shepherds is called forth against her. She will not be afraid of their voices, nor abase herself for the noise of them. So shall the Lord of hosts come down and fight for Mount Zion and for the hill thereof. Who shall ascend into my holy hill? She with clean hands and a pure heart. The only one we could find with clean hands and a pure heart was the Shulamite. So she's amongst us. She comes down and she fights for us. She places her spirit back upon us. We are the twins. We're the presence of God being shaped in the earth. Why are you like a woman taken by surprise? She's the horn. Horn is feminine. That's exalted spiritual power. Like a warrior powerless to save, yet you are among us, O Lord, and we are called by your name. You see how it goes, sisters? So now we're going to just quickly go. We'll read Psalm 57:4 for further. It's the Shulamite who speaks of the tents of Kedar. And she says in one verse, she says, when I am for peace, they are for war. They were against her. They were against her peaceful covenant. Psalm 57:4, my soul is among lions, and I live even among them that are set on fire, even the sons of men or daughters of women, whose teeth are spears and arrows, and their tongue a sharp sword. You see, they began to go after the righteous daughter in the righteous covenant. They were thieves and liars from the beginning, and they wanted to play God. They wanted to be like the Most High. So when we go to Romans, and I think I've included everything, as hard as it is to believe. Romans 11. Whoops. We'll get there. Am I in the right spot? 11 parallel. We'll get the ones that were asleep. You're appointed for this. You carry this burden. Yeah, it's taking me right here. I ask, did they stumble so as to fall beyond recovery? Who are these daughters? They stumbled when the snake struck her heel. She stumbled with his poison. Not at all. Rather, because of their transgressions, what come of the poison, salvation has come to the Gentiles to make Israel jealous. So we're the jealousy. We daughters rising up out in the land of the Gentiles become the jealousy of the actual land of Israel, because we're holding the truth. We're the revealers of that truth. We're the new branch took out amongst the Gentiles. But you see, it's the daughters that were Israel from the beginning. That's the kicker. It's not the males. It's the daughters. So, but that's not where we were going. We're going to the point where the elect was asleep. And we know this elect is a feminine because we've studied this chapter before multiple times. Again, you'll have to go through both channels to find it. But God says, and this was 7,000 that had not bowed their knee to the image of Baal, husband, Lord, and God, the bull god. Apis, another name for the golden calf idol out of Egypt. And they changed their glory over to that, which eateth grass. Even so, then at this present time, also there is a remnant according to the election of grace. So where is it? According as it is written, this is verse 8, God hath given them the spirit of slumber. See, we've had the spirit of slumber. Eyes that we could not see and ears that we could not hear, even unto this day. And David said, let their table be made a snare. That's a table that the bread and wine sits on, in a trap and a stumbling block. And it has for many. It's become an idol in their way. Let their eyes be darkened that they may not see and bow down their back. Bow. They say, bow down, woman, that we may go over. That's Isaiah 59. And you have laid your back flat. But she says, you're going to stand up and take it back. So when we look at eyes of slumber in this verse, spirit of stupor, we studied this, can't quite remember what it meant. And we'll be on here. I don't know how long the video is. Okay, so interlinear, spirit of stupor. We want to look at stupor. Stupor 2659. A spirit of stupor. Deep sleep, torpor, insensible. He, Father made me. I have no idea why I exist, Mother. Woman, creator of life. Properly, a violent strike, a prick. Figuratively, the bewilderment which comes after being struck, like falling into a mental stupor. And that's just what they did to these daughters. They struck them. And they went to sleep in a religious lie. Severe sorrow, extreme grief when he turned on her covenant. When they ripped the garments of glory, they were as men at war, coming against the government of God, against the daughters gave in covenant. They were the presence of God on earth, also known as God's angelical beings, I guess, if you want to call them that. A prickling sensation as of the limbs asleep, by implication, perhaps by some confusion, stupor, lethargy, or slumber. And we have slumbered in this lie. The idea that he would strike us and really flesh out this religious lie. It can, to think that he would go along with this lie. It really does. It strikes at you. It does. It strikes at your heart. So that's the sleep that she goes to sleep in. And so we are kind of fleshing out all the understandings of the archangel and how, they twist everything and really created a lie around it all. So I think that is everything. I think we actually got through the bulk of the most important things that we needed to speak on. Now, yeah, and we spoke on what a prophetess is. It's a prophet, an interpreter, or foreteller of the divine will. A person gifted at exposing or expositing divine truth, a revealer. Your earnest at the end. I also have Miss Upstrong. Tells you quite a bit on this word as well. And why we have to actually be initiated into it by the Spirit. Oh, why did it give me that? Okay, we'll go down here because it wants to play now. It may not give me Oh, okay, fine. I'll have to go up and make a preference here. Bible Hub. Okay, and it's 3466. And this is what it says. A mystery or a secret doctrine. A mystery, secret, of which initiation is necessary. The counsels of God, once hidden, are now revealed to us daughters, not in the gospel. They lied. They buried it. In some fact, their revelation generally, particularly truths or details of the Holy Spirit's revelation, not Christian. Christian is an idol. That's your revelers, reveling over bread and blood. Mystery in the Bible, a mystery is not something unknowable. Rather, it is what can only be known through revelation because God reveals it. So you see, she does take us back. She puts her spirit back upon us. And just because I'm interested in looking at this, let's look up that twin verse in Song of Songs. Just so I can read it. Last Song of Songs, each has born a twin. I spelled that wrong, but whatever. That is, okay, now it's going to be difficult. Not give it to me. Well, now, why didn't it give it to me? You know, for AI being so intelligent, it is pretty stupid. I can tell you that. I know more than this thing. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Song of Songs 6:6. Oh, isn't it 6:6? Look at that. And of course, it's your teeth are like a flock of sheep coming up from the washing. What was sheep? What was and you look the word sheep. It may also be rendered as goats coming up from the washing. Your teeth are like a flock of coming up from the washing. Bashan means ivory. Your teeth were allegorical to arrows, words. So there's a washing going on with in the sense of your mouth. She says, I'll wash the blood and the filth off of my daughters. Your teeth are like a flock of sheep coming up from the washing. Each has its twin. Not one of them is missing. So you see, this is the twin spirit. This is one to another, joined one to another. Also, we did this study to do with the wings on the cherubim and the seraphim. When you look up one to another, you've got bride with a sister. So I tend to see that as the spirit with us. We're in retraining through the spirit. We are the prophetesses having this word of truth on our tongue. We are the revealers of truth. We are part of the original daughters that were given covenant, if you want to call them archangels, whatever you want to call them. They were known as the presence of God or God on this earth, and man stabbed them in the back. And then they are left behind to bear the burden, where at the end they will rise up, as it states in Romans 11, where it says, what? Has Israel not obtained that which she seeketh for? Obtained will take you to her children, that word will. So that's our video for now. Oh my, it's long, 2 hours. I hope I said everything I meant to say, needed to say. I hope I didn't leave anything out. I think I've went through every note I had taken down. So it's important that we daughters get a hold of this, because if fallen Adam, is ever to have his second chance, he's got to be covered with the truth and wear the covering that protects him from her wrath. There it is. That's it. So I want to thank all my precious sisters who come to each and every video and offer such encouraging comments. I thank you for your lovely comments. You're so sweet, all of you. I appreciate you taking the time to watch and learn, like I have been doing, taking the time to learn what the Spirit wants me to learn. I appreciate us being on this journey together. I pray the Lord continues to bless you with an abundance of truth and you continue to explore your own callings. You certainly have them according to the Bible, despite what the men would have you believe. And it's also the sons that's coming here. You have to understand the importance of this. Absolutely. If you want to if you recognize the truth and you recognize the wisdom of it, then you obviously have a sense of what's important. Again, I thank you for watching. I pray the Lord blesses you with an abundance of truth, and I hope you all have a lovely day. And thanks for watching again.